The first question which came to my mind was, why rethink Pakistan? Zarur kya ho gayi? We had the President address the National Assembly joint session the other day. Sounds like a damn good country today. But then I decided to look inside my heart and say, this country which I love, and by the way, I passionately love this country, and I'm not apologetic about that. There are things about it that just ain't right. There are things about this country that need to change. And I've just, since we're going to be working on it, and by the way, you don't have a timer, so I have no clue when the 18 is going to be up. So given the fact that we have only 18 minutes, I just tried to pick up some of the big things that need to change. Unfortunately, the nation that we live in, the society that we live in, is just simply an unjust society. इस मुल्क में इंसाफ नहीं. The strong have their way, regardless of where their strength is derived from. In some case it may be wealth, in some case it may be political power, in some case it may be gender, in some case it may be the religion that they belong to. But the dominant forces, the elite, the power structure of this country have it their way. It's very, very difficult for me to step in the shoes of a woman who knows that simply saying no can result in acid being thrown on her face and her being robbed of her life. I cannot even begin to imagine what it feels like to be a minority in this country, a religious minority, and having to face the wrath which erupts from time to time, which challenges your very existence, your survival. I cannot, as much as I try, get myself into the shoes of a poor parent जिसको ये नहीं पता कि आज रात को मेरे बच्चे का खाना कहाँ से आएगा, या अगर मेरे बेटी बीमार हो गई है तो उसका मैं इलाज कैसे करवाऊँ. These are norms that we have grown up in, and yes, I know Pakistan is not the only country in the world where this happens. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the only home I have, and I only care about mine. And this just ain't right and needs to change. And we'll talk about how things might change. Second aspect. Look at these countries: Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, Malawi, Mozambique, Zambia. What's common among these countries? क्या कदर मुश्तरक है इन मुल्कों के बारे में? एक तो ये कि ये गरीब तरीन दुनिया के ममालिक, ज्यादातर इसमें से बिलोंग करते हैं सब सहारन अफ्रीका को, the poorest part of the world. हमने आज भी करना हो, कोई नेगेटिव बात करनी होती है तो हम कहते हैं कि अफ्रीकी मुल्क की तरह, दो इसमें से साउथ एशिया के हैं. That's one thing that is common amongst these countries. You know what's the other thing common amongst these countries? All of them, look at the names, all of them are growing more than twice as fast as Pakistan's economy is. Hurts, doesn't it? Unbelievable. But that's the reality. If you look at just the last 4 years, and you look at the per capita income growth of Pakistan, you compare it with China. China's per capita income growth is 8 times faster than Pakistan. India's is 6 times faster. Bangladesh is more than 4 times faster. Now you would say, so what? So bloody what? GDP growth, who cares? Ladies and gentlemen, this translates at a very, very human level to a child surviving beyond the age of 2 because it doesn't get or she doesn't get enough nutrition or health care. It means being robbed of an education and therefore being robbed of your dreams. And this is not the way it has always been. I'm not going to spend time on that, but that's not the natural state of things. And clearly this has to change. We are a land which is neither at peace with itself nor at peace with its neighbors. To our east is India. Okay, there is historic reasons there, bloody partition, all the baggage of history that we carry and everything that we have brought in with that. To our north, Afghanistan, for most of the last 60 years, it's a country with whom we've had troubled relationships. Iran, जो एक ज़माने में पाकिस्तान का closest ally होता था, one of the closest allies. You know, Pakistani Air Force actually parked their planes in '65 war in Iran. We have at best a cold relationship. Sard Mori का रिश्ता है हमारा. And why this matters beyond just the human, the obvious human reasons why you should be at peace with your neighbors, I'll talk about that later. So what should we do? Again, we'll pick up just some of the bigger themes. जब तक the citizen of the state, इस मुल्क का एक आम शहरी, इसकी national policies का central focus बुनियादी महवर नहीं बनेगा, change will never come. मैं एक presentation करता हूँ, उसमें मैं लोगों से ये सवाल पूछता हूँ कि जिस मुल्क में हर 1000 में से 85 बच्चे 2 साल की एज पहुंचने से पहले वफात पा जाते हैं because they don't have access to the right nutrition and health care. Every single expenditure of this nation has to be weighed against that priority. All these lovely buildings that we have in Islamabad belonging to the financed by the taxpayer, all the lovely armadas that we have built, the nuclear bombs that we have, everything has to compete with that priority. Until we change the fundamental paradigm, this country is for its citizens, not the other way around. That, in my opinion, the day you start thinking on those lines will be the first fundamental change which begins to happen. Going back to the theme of insaf, by the way, Ripindi में पैदा हुआ था. I started my schooling in CBC Sales School. That time it was called CBC Sales School. उसके बाद हम कराची चले गए. कायदीन गवर्नमेंट सेकेंडरी स्कूल से मैंने मैट्रिक किया. ₹1 महीना हमारी फीस होती थी. अगर डस्टर टूट जाता था तो बारियां लगती थी डस्टर चेंज करने की. ₹1 महीने के ऊपर मुझे एजुकेशन मिली. In my humble opinion, a world class education. 16 साल की मेरी स्कूलिंग जो है, all of it was in state-run institutions. The taxpayers of Pakistan financed that. I want every child of Pakistan to have that opportunity. But then you say, can you really afford it? Was it a smart thing to give you such subsidized education? You can pick up the annual report of Engro and look at the compensation that I get and the taxes that I pay. I won't give you the numbers, but suffice it to say कि मैं सिर्फ 1 साल में डायरेक्ट अपनी इनकम के ऊपर जो टैक्स पे करता हूँ, the government of Pakistan has been paid many times over. It was a very smart decision, and if it was a smart decision to invest in Asad Umar, it's a smart decision to invest in every child of Pakistan. We need equality of opportunity. We cannot afford to have 50% of our population driven out of the mainstream simply because they happen to be women. There has to be equality of opportunity, चाहे वो जेंडर की हो, या वो आपकी इकोनॉमिक स्टेटस की हो, या आपके रिलीजियस बिलीफ्स की हो. Power needs to move out of Islamabad and Lahore and Karachi and has to move down to the grassroots. A fundamental change is not possible until we empower the citizens of this land. इस मुल्क के सिटीजन की जिंदगी के फैसले के सिटीजन के हाथ में होने चाहिए, not a chosen few. And this is a very central part of the change that needs to come, because this extremely centralized structure that Pakistan is today, इसमें political change लाना is almost impossible. How many people can afford to have mega crores of rupees, run these massive campaigns and attain those few positions of power which control everything else? But on the other hand, if we take the power structure if we decentralize it, we bring power down to the grassroots. अपने मोहल्ले के अंदर कंट्रोल लेने की शायद हमारे पास रिसोर्सेस हो. We need to take power away from the top of this country and disperse it to the 180 million citizens of this country, and there are very, very specific, tangible political ways of doing that. We must learn to stand up for the most vulnerable citizens of this society, and we do not. A very large number of us are in denial. We have no idea. The most vulnerable that I talked about, we don't know what they go through. Most of us don't care what they go through. And that's not how a civilized nation survives. It is morally wrong. It is wrong from an economic efficiency point of view. It is wrong from a political system point of view. Democracies cannot flourish like this. We have to stand up for the most vulnerable. The state has to be there to protect the most vulnerable, चाहे वो उनकी economic need हो या वो उनकी security needs हो. The most powerful vadera in the land should quiver in his shoes before he touches any poor person or a woman, because he should know that the full power of the state is going to come down like a ton of bricks on him if he does that. The 21st century economies are globally integrated economies. You cannot be islands anymore. You cannot put up high walls and protect yourself. You have to learn to be a part of the global system. And what an opportunity! We heard at the beginning of the amazing experience that you have interacting with cultures around the world, experiencing new things, meeting new people, hearing their perspectives that you have never heard of or thought about before. Just that by itself should be reason enough for us to reach out and want to be a part of the world and not try and isolate ourselves. But again, from a pure economic efficiency point of view, what was Pakistan? What is now Pakistan? Is global positioning क्या होती थी economically? This was the Silk Route, and that is the positioning available to Pakistan. You share borders with two of the largest, fastest growing economies in the world. What an amazing economic opportunity. Stop being insecure. I keep on saying this. Bring on Amul. I'd love to see Engro Foods go head to head with Amul. Why are we this amazing challenge of this country? I keep saying this. I've had the opportunity of working with the best in the world, the finest private sector institutions from around the world, Goldman Sachs, Citi, Mitsubishi, and so on and so forth, World Bank, United Nations. I find Pakistan, South Asians frankly, to be amongst the most talented in the world. And people keep on telling me, Asad, tum jo ho na, as my friend described me in a television program, Asad is irritatingly optimistic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I got a great data point for my optimism yesterday. INSEAD ने एक report की है on innovation. और उसमें उन्होंने दो different aspects analyze किए, inputs and outputs. So inputs are the conditions provided to the citizens and the business to operate, and that's what the state is doing for them. 125 countries studied. Pakistan is 123 out of 125. Only 2 other countries are worse than us in that 125 data point. And then they said, okay, based on what inputs have been provided to the citizens of a country and the entrepreneurs of a country, what kind of innovation are they able to do and what outputs they create? Out of the same 125 countries, Pakistan is 4th in the world. That's how they So we talked about where we are, what in my humble opinion is wrong with the country, or at least some of the biggies which are wrong with the country. I shared with you my thoughts of what needs to change. But what does the future hold? Am I willing to stick my neck out and take a position on that? I haven't the slightest doubt about this. I can feel it in my bones. This country is destined for greatness. There is just too much talent in this country to be suppressed forever. What will it take? Very, very simple. And that's my principal point of today's presentation. What will it change? What will it take for you to go from where you are to what is, to move towards what could be. It is the day every single citizen of Pakistan decides to take matters in their own hand. The biggest single victory of the forces of status quo in this country has been that they have convinced each and every one of us that change is not possible. That is absolutely false. आज से मैंने 3 साल पहले एक आर्टिकल लिखा था, आर्टिकल इंग्लिश में था, बट उसका टाइटल था उम्मीद है शहर की बात सुनो, and I quoted in there कि फैज साहब ने आज से 50 साल पहले कहा था, निसार मैं तेरी गलियों के वतन के जहां चली है रस्म के कोई नसर उठा के चले. Ladies and gentlemen, I truly believe that Pakistanis bit by bit, person by person, are starting to decide that we will never walk with our heads bowed anymore. We are starting to believe in ourselves, and we are starting to take our destiny in our own hands. In my humble opinion, we are very close to a tipping point, and the day this belief spreads, and that's what Allama Iqbal says. He's always an amazing guy. You can find him being so profound on so many different issues. He says, "Garmao gulamo ka lahu soze yaqeen se." I take liberties with the Allama since he ain't around to defend his own chair. And I modified a little bit and I said, "Garmao jawano ka lahu soze yaqeen se." Infuse self-belief in the youth of the country. और उसके बाद कुंजश के फरोमाया को शाही से लड़ा दो. After that, they can take on the world. So that's where I think we stand, and I think all of us are going to be a part of an amazing journey which has already started to unfold and is going to get more and more exciting as time goes by. And in the end, I will just leave you with a hope and a prayer. Thank you very much.